Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Make It Happen Monday. One thing you can do this week to better market your business. For those of you joining us live this morning, I do want to point out that you can ask a question at any point in time during the presentation. We're going to cover some pretty interesting information today, and you may have a question along the way about what we're talking about. And at any point in time, you can type into your GoToMeeting question panel the question. It pops up here on my screen, and I am more than happy to try to answer that for you. I know some of what we're going to be talking about today can be a little bit on the confusing side. So, what our topic is for today is how to create images for your social media posts. And we're going to talk about a lot of different topics around this. So we're going to have a very interesting webinar this morning. We're going to start out with a PowerPoint presentation and talk a little bit about images and some things that you need to know because I've been in this industry. I've been a graphic designer for, oh, good grief, 25 years now. And all of this stuff comes really naturally to me because I started out in the world of print and regular photography. And so I got in at the ground level of digital. So we had to understand all of these finer points of digital imagery from step one on through. And for those of you who are, kind of thrown into this mix as the internet got popular and you got to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, can understand how it can be confusing. And just understanding the basics of how to work with images is very confusing. And so I'm going to try to shed some light on that particular topic today. So, my name is Kimberly Beer, and I am an authorized local expert and solution provider with Constant Contact. I'm also a small business owner. My company, Midnight Productions Incorporated, has a mission of helping small business owners succeed with their marketing. And we do that by providing a whole host of services. We do everything concept to completion, from photography and image creation all of the way through finished design, as well as planning and consulting. But my particular gift in all of this is to help people understand marketing concepts, both the technology that you need to know in 2015, as well as the concept behind how to market your business. So that's what I love to do, is teach. So that's why I'm here today. And graphics is my thing. Kind of always has been. I have been a photographer since I was a kid, and I've been doing it professionally since I was in high school. So I've been getting paid to be a photographer and create images. So this topic for today is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Photography and photos, or imagery, has become incredibly important in social media marketing. It's no longer about a text post. It really is about photos. And according to a Simply Measured survey, photos account for 62% of all brand posts and 77% of all post engagement. Yeah, they're pretty important. It is very, very critical to have good imagery that goes along with your posts. But before you can get to that point, there are some things you need to understand about images in general that you're going to have to use once you get to being able to post. So there's some terminology and some concepts that I want to go over first. And the very first one is, what is a pixel and why does it matter? So I will tell you, in my world, where we have to work with people to create print material and digital material, and I work with a lot of folks who have their own photos. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of my client base are baby boomers. And to them, they don't necessarily know what a pixel is. It makes zero sense. So I want to start out with this very basic concept. And if you're here because you want to learn a little bit more advanced stuff, we are going to get there. But I want to start out with this because it is so important to understand. The pixel is this little square. If you can see my mouse, that is a pixel. That little square is a pixel. And pixels matter because they measure your image. That's how your image is created. So each one of those pixels is a different color. And if you zoomed in further, they would get bigger. And if you zoomed out, that would get clearer and clearer until you could see each of those horses. Very much in detail. But each pixel has its own little color, and each pixel is very, very important. How many pixels there are across the image or down the image. So it's a grid and you can see the pixels here. So we measure our image by how many pixels go across and how many pixels go down. So we're going to use that concept a lot today. We're going to talk about images that are 1200 pixels wide and 600 pixels tall. So this will tell you what a pixel is and how that particular unit of measure creates an image. But this is visually what that means. Now, there are some other things we need to know about images and about pixels in particular. The size at which your image appears on your screen depends on two things: the pixel dimensions of the image and the display resolution of your screen. So for those of us who started out with graphics, came into the digital age, so to speak, we all learned about 72 DPI or PPI. And by the way, dots per inch is a printing measure that was around before the internet, and it simply means that that's how many dots, because that's how printing presses display stuff, how many dots will fit in an inch. PPI is how many pixels will fit in an inch. But the pixel dimensions of your image and the display resolution of the screen that it's being displayed on determine the size of the image. So if you have a 600 by 600 pixel image and you're displaying it on a monitor that has a 640 wide pixel resolution, that image will take up most of the monitor. If, on the other hand, you have a 600 pixel image and you have like my big 27-inch monitor, which is like 3,200 pixels across, then the image will appear very small. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about pixel resolution. DPI and PPI are not important because the monitor, the display, shows the resolution in pixels. So a 1200 pixel image is 1200 pixels no matter what the DPI or PPI, that's a typo on my screen there, the DPI or PPI is set at. It doesn't matter because it's 1200 pixels wide no matter what. Now, if you convert that over into inches, then it becomes critical. So if we do the math, if we have a 400 PPI or an image that's 1200 pixels wide at 300 DPI or PPI, that means that image would translate in print to be 4 inches wide. I think I did my math right. 3 inches wide, 4 inches wide, somewhere in that vicinity. Wasn't that great at math in college. At any rate, you can do the math and it will come out as inches for printing, but it's not going to affect the display resolution. That 1200 pixels per inch, our 1200 pixel image is going to display at 1200 pixels, and it's going to be bigger or smaller depending upon the resolution of the screen it's displayed on. So all of this is very important because your Facebook newsfeed images are displayed on a screen, correct? Okay, so you can reduce the size of an image and keep its clarity. So if you have that same 1200 pixel image and you want to use it in on Instagram, where you will reduce it down to 510 pixels wide, then it will retain its clarity and sharpness. You cannot, however, enlarge it and keep the clarity. You can enlarge it. It's just that it's going to get fuzzier if you change that image to 1400 pixels. You can do it, but you really shouldn't. So when you're sizing graphics for your social media haunts and your social media posts, you want to make sure that you don't enlarge an image to fit a particular news feed's requirements. The only time this really happens is when people shoot their photos on a digital camera and they have the setting for their camera turned down to like a really small resolution JPEG. It will allow you to store more images on your card. So you may think, oh, wow, I can get more images shoved on this card because their image size is smaller, the file size is smaller, but then your image is smaller and you can't enlarge it. However, if you shoot at a higher image resolution, then you can always reduce it down. This is the primary reason why many professional photographers, myself included, shoot in a RAW format, which is the as many pixels as that camera will accept. And then we can change that image. So it's easy to go down, but not easy to go up. So that brings us to another particular piece of information, and that is file type 101. So when we talk about images, we often talk about JPEGs. JPEGs are the most common image type. They are good for all applications, and the mass majority of anything out there will accept a JPEG. I don't care what particular software you're using, JPEGs are usually globally accepted. So JPEGs are what's called a loss-based system. In other words, you can reduce the quality of your JPEG file, and the more you reduce the quality, the more you reduce the file size. The more quality the image has, the bigger the file size is. When you're doing images for your social news feeds or for your website or for anywhere that's going to be displayed on a monitor, you have to remember you are working with a host of devices out there. Your image can be viewed on everything from a little 3-inch mobile phone screen all of the way up to a 60-inch digital television that somebody's looking at their Facebook newsfeed on. So it is such a huge range of image size that you have to try to keep things a little bit nice in between. So I always recommend using a medium or better quality. I typically shoot for best. Most people now have fairly fast internet. And I say most because not everyone does. But most of us are getting to the point, even us out here in the middle of nowhere in Missouri, are able to get DSL. So having a really small image is to get it to load was always the reason why you wanted to reduce the size of your JPEG image. But that is less important today as the better quality is, in my opinion. So JPEG is a good all-around file type. The one thing a JPEG cannot do that you occasionally need to have is a transparent background, and that's a PNG file. So PNG files do allow for a transparent background. Now I need to be very clear about this. They allow for a transparent background, but you have to have some type of software that will let you save a file or let you create a file that has a transparent background. I use Photoshop. I believe Photoshop Elements will let you do that, but a lot of the free editing software doesn't always let you do that. I happen to only have Macintosh computers in my office. However, I understand from my PC using friends, there's something called paint.net that will let you create images with a PNG format. So why is that important? Well, graphics mean more than just photos. It means your logo. It means things that you maybe want to overlay over the top of a photo, like you want to drop your logo in to a photo, particularly if you're going to be using it on the web, or excuse me, on Facebook or any other social news feed, you may want to put your logo on that image so people know it's associated with your business. So having a PNG file that allows you to do that, it gets to be very critical, but you have to have one with that transparent background turned on. So my biggest suggestion with this is to just talk to the graphic designer of whatever piece of artwork it is that you're wanting to use and ask them if they can supply you with a PNG file. Okay, a GIF or GIF can be pronounced either one, is small, but it's often not as good a quality as a JPEG. It too is very globally accepted across the web, so most software can deal with a GIF or GIF file. JPEGs, again, are the most widely accepted. PNGs as well. GIF files are right after it. Now, there's a host of other file types. The ones that came to my mind right away were TIFF files, PSD files. PSD is a native Photoshop file. CR2 is a Canon RAW file. There's Nikon RAW files. There's a DMG file that images can come in. And then there is every known camera type has their own little file system that they made native file naming, and different programs have native files as well. So all of those are really more software specific, or in the case of a TIFF file, they're more designed for printing. TIFF files are files that we use when we create printed brochures because they are very high quality and you have a lot of ability to save even layers in that file. The same with Photoshop. So none of these are really acceptable for you to share on Facebook or for web use in general. So TIFF, PSD, CR2, RAW, anything other than JPEG, PNG, and GIF or GIF is where you're gonna draw the line. So JPEG is, again, the most common and the most widespread and the most accepted of all of them. When you're adding type to an image, please make it big and bold. Keep the font very simple because remember, people are looking at this in their newsfeed. They're not going to spend a lot of time looking at it or reading anything. Put it in an area of the image without a lot of background distractions. And if you do have some distractions back there, put a shadow or a glow behind the type if you want to put it on that particular image. So the image that we have here to the right is a good example of an image that could have type easily added to it. I have all of this sky space up here around the horse's head that I could add type. I have a nice little darker area down here that I could put my logo in. It's very contrasty. Black type or brown type would look really good against the sky. White would show up really good down here in the bottom. My horse is all dark, so I could definitely add something there. When you're looking for images to add type to, which is something that we want to do a lot when creating social media posts, that is something that we want to look at. We want to look for images with really simple backgrounds, and we want to look for images that have very contrasty. So if we added white or black type, it would show up very nicely. When you're looking at different posts that you can make with your images, there are some basic ones. There's a photo post, there's a video post, there's graphic or iconic posts. These can even go as to cartoonish, things that are drawn, things that you've made in Illustrator or some other software that you can draw stuff. A photo with text, which is an example that we have over here to the right. This is one of my images that I've put with just a really simple quote. And this has worked immeasurably well with my photography business. I take a simple image like this. I usually add my website as a watermark. We're going to get into that on the next slide. But I want to have this simple image. This is really nice. Your eye gets caught by beauty and the horse. Then you read the quote and it's very share worthy. So this meets my criteria for being an image that I would want to post on my Facebook newsfeed in particular, but also I could resize it, put it on Instagram, resize it, put it on Pinterest, and it makes a nice image for all of those particular markets when it's done with that image, and it carries my information as well. Infographics are other things, another type of image post. So infographics are those really long things that have lots of statistics, and lots of information about a specific topic. So Denise has asked an interesting question. She's asked, do you have to get copy permission to use the quote? And I have this whole nice slide, Denise, on copyright. So we're going to go over that more, but I didn't talk about quotes. So I will right now. When you attribute the quote, you can use the quote without getting copyright permission. So in this case, I've attributed the author of the quote, and then it's okay for you to use it. You can even use that and sell it as long as that quote has not been trademarked. Now, some of our newer celebrities out there in the world like to trademark what they say. Now, something that's trademarked, you can't put it on something and then sell it. But I actually sell these images where you can hang them on your wall. We do canvases of them or framed artwork. And as long as the quote is attributed and it's attributed correctly, you can use it, and you can use it on your images that you post in Facebook or anywhere else. That does not violate copyright. The only time it would violate the copyright is if you copied the work in its entirety and or you didn't attribute it to the correct person. So make sure you're getting it from the correct person. By the way, and this is something else that's not in the slides, if you are looking for quotes, Goodreads, that's GOODREADS.com is like the best place to get quotes. I really like it above all of the other quote engines online that I have discovered. Goodreads is by far the best. So if this is something that you think, this particular type of image where you put an image with a quote, if that would work for your business, then there's a good suggestion to go grab some, goodreads.com. More image rules. So this is important. Always watermark your original images. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Put your website address on them as your watermark if at all possible. If it is an image that you have taken and you're going to share it, and this I'm talking about business, I'm not talking about your personal images. So if you took pictures of the kids at the pool this weekend and you just post them on your Facebook newsfeed, there's no reason to watermark those images. But as a business owner, you want to watermark your original images. I teach a lot of photographers about working online and about working within the parameters of social media. And for them, watermarking is a no-brainer because their image is their money. So if they give that away, if they put it on a news feed so people can print it and hang it on their wall, then they don't want to purchase it. So in their instance, watermarking is incredibly important. However, for most of us who just own businesses, watermarking is equally as important, not because someone's going to take the photo. We hope that they'll take the photo. I want them to take the photo. I want them to print it out and put it somewhere in their office. I want them to do those things as a business owner, but particularly if that photo is of my product. However, I want them to have my website address, because what happens is that image gets detached from something. And then, like, let's say I'm scrolling through and I see that photo that I just had up with the horse on it with the word beauty. And I think, oh, wow, I'd really like to hang that on my wall. And I print it out. Now, as a photographer, I'm actually okay with that if it has my website watermark on it, because that person's going to look at that day after day and say, wow, maybe I'd like that in a higher resolution that's very pretty to look at. Maybe I'd like it framed. And I've even gotten to the part where when I share my quote images, underneath the website address, watermarked with the image, it says, to purchase this image, visit website. So they know where they can go to buy it. But if it's just a picture of my product, then no matter where it goes, my website goes with it. And if you are not the only person out there to manufacture that particular product or widget or whatever it happens to be, or you have competitors that manufacture something similar, your website is now on that. So when it gets detached from the Facebook newsfeed, whether it's printed out or somebody downloads it and re-uploads it to their newsfeed because they don't understand how to share, which happens more than you would like to know, your website has now gone along with that image. Denise has asked too if infographics are like pie charts and stuff like that. Yes, I consider those graphics or icons. Infographics are more where you're sharing statistics over a big long image. I'll pull up Pinterest when we get over to the web part of the presentation and show you what infographics are. There are tons of them on Pinterest. When it comes more to image rules, resize, crop, and customize the image specifically for each channel that you're working on. And if you really do want people to share your image, so ask yourself when you go to post the image online, is this image share worthy? Irene has asked a question too. She says, I take most of my photos on the go on my phone. Do I need to save it to a computer and then post and put words on it, or can I somehow do it off my phone? Irene, I am only familiar with iPhones because that's what I have. I don't have an Android phone. However, I would think that I know that there's an app. I don't know the name of it because I don't really use it much. But there's apps in the App Store for iPhones and the Apple App Store that you can get that will let you do that. And I am certain, because there are ones in the iPhone store that will do it, that there are ones in the Android market that will as well. So no, you don't have to pull them off your phone. You can just get an app that will do that. Remember, usually if there's just something you want to do, there's usually an app for that. And in this case, I'm pretty positive that there's an app that you can use, whether you have a Droid or whether you have an iPhone or whether you're using like a Windows phone either. All of those should have applications that allow you to put text over the top of an image. Now, you may have more control of it if you do it on your computer, and I'm going to show you where you can do it for free online. So let's talk about copyright. All images, professional and amateur, in the United States inherently have a copyright up to 70 years after the maker's death. There is no registration or notice needed. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I can take that image because it doesn't have a copyright symbol on it, or I can take that image because my cousin Mark took it, it doesn't work that way. It is copyrighted and that person does not have to register it. Now, if they want to prosecute you, they're going to have to register it. But when they register it is irrelevant. It is their copyright when they made the image. And it is true whether you take it with your iPhone or whether you take it with a professional camera. It is copyrighted. You can be prosecuted for violating someone's copyright. The chances of it happening are much greater today than they were 5 years ago. People are actually getting pretty angry about it. Copyright laws are different in other countries than they are in the US. So overseas, what your image the copyright may not be the same. Someone there can take your image and use it all over the place, and you would not have any recourse whatsoever. Hence the reason why I always tell people to put the watermark on the image, because it makes it a little bit harder to be able to take that image. Most other countries' copyright laws will state that if the person didn't go back and at least try to contact the maker, then they have to remove the image or not use it. And in putting your website on your image pretty much gives them a dead giveaway where they need to go to contact the person who owns that image. So, but copyright laws are different in other countries. Why should that matter to you? Because the internet is a global endeavor. Someone from the UK, someone from France, someone from India, someone from China, anywhere in the world can view what you put online. So it is important. Don't use the image if you don't have written permission or you didn't take it. If it's your original image, if you snapped it with your phone, it's perfectly legal to use that. If you do not have written permission, however, from someone else, do not use that image. When you're working with a professional photographer, make sure that you get a photo release so that it's signed by that photographer so that you have full capability to use that image in the way that you want. Now, there are different rules with that, and I will get to that in a little bit more. Denise has asked about stock photos purchased on iStock and other places. So let's talk about that real quick, and then because I'm going to show you those sites, I want to talk to you about stock imagery, because for most of you, stock imagery is going to be an important part of this process for you. So I have a couple of resources for you. But when you use stock imagery, you're going to get a license, and that license allows you to use the image in several ways. Websites like iStock Photo, Big Stock Photo, Graphic Stock, which are the three that I'm going to show you today, all have what's called royalty-free images. So that means no matter what you use them in or how many times you use them, you are free to go ahead and do that, and you won't violate anyone's copyrights. You can alter the image, you can change the image, you can put type over the top of it, you can Photoshop it, you can put it in a collage. It's all royalty free. If you get the image from a professional photographer or from a stock photo service that has images where they charge a royalty, you will have to tell them exactly for what you're using that image for and get a license to use the image and pay for that specific usage. So, for example, if you want to use the image on your website, the person will give you the maker will give you a release that will let you use that image on your website. And they will specifically have within that release rules about that. So, for example, you can use it for 2 years, whatever the rules are that they've made up for that particular image and that particular usage. And then after those rules are no longer applied, then you'll have to go back and pay more. Most of us have all moved to royalty free. Or some version thereof. Big Stock, Graphic Stock, iStock all have royalty-free images as long as you're not doing something where you're going to use that as an iconic representation, i.e. a logo, or you're going to use it as on something that you're going to sell, where the image is what you're selling. In other words, if you're doing pre-printed packaging, I don't think that matters. But if you're packaging an image, so you put one of those quotes on a photo and now you're going to sell that to people, then it becomes a violation of that. When you buy the image from iStock or Big Stock or Graphic Stock, it will come with a release and it will explain to you what your rights are within that release. I hope that helped a little bit with that. It's very confusing. Copyright is very confusing. So now let's look at each one of the networks or channels separately and talk a little bit about what you're going to use image-wise with each one of them. Facebook is the big dog on the block. It's where most of you are going to be putting your images, and photos and videos should go with every post, in my opinion. They show up better in news feeds. You tend not to gloss over them like you will a text post. You can add text with a photo, and people will actually go back and read the text if the photo is interesting enough. So that's text above it. It's a place where when we see images that really move us or videos that really move us, that we want to share them. And that's how Facebook's organic reach works. If you're buying Facebook ads, it's equally, if not more important, to have custom graphics for every single ad that you do. There's a lot of little rules that Facebook has about how much wording you can have versus image in your ads. You just have to play by those rules. But imagery is incredibly important. When it comes to organic posts, and when I say organic, that's posts you're not putting in an ad. So you're not going to boost the post, or you're not going to create an ad for that particular topic. Sharing brand photos, lifestyle photos, product photos, how-to photos, and testimonials, with testimonials being huge, are all great things to share on Facebook. Just a little tip, the way Facebook is set up for your company newsfeed, if one of your customers comes on your timeline and posts a big rave review about your product or service, that doesn't show up very well. So go ahead and share it back to your timeline so it shows up better. So share testimonials. Testimonials are so important in social media because it's all about reaching out beyond your specific little group of people, and testimonials do that, because testimonials, when you use them, when you share them on your timeline, it makes such a big deal because it gets out to more people than are just in your list. Hopefully it goes to the person who made the testimonial and then other people that have shared it. Also creates trust. I cannot say enough good things about sharing testimonials on your Facebook newsfeed. And when you share them with a photo, it makes them that much more powerful. Facebook is not good for infographics or anything with intricate wording. When you're thinking of creating anything for any of the social networks, but in particular images, think about how you look at your particular channel. Most of you, if you're on this for business, you probably need to be on it as a user, or you probably already are on it as a user. So think about how you use that particular channel. And if you are scrolling through your Facebook newsfeed and you see an image with a whole lot of words on it, you don't read it. You don't read those words because there's too much and it's too easy to just swipe up or scroll down. So anything with a lot of intricate parts to it doesn't work really well on Facebook. Things that are very simple tend to get the most impact on Facebook. Now, here's where we're going to get into the pixel things. So I've broken out each specific channel by what the specific pixel dimensions are for that channel as of within the last couple of weeks. Now, that being said, Facebook changes the rules all the time. So do these other channels. So this is within the capsule of when I created the presentation. So you might want to double check these pixel dimensions. And when we send out the video for this, the follow-up email for this presentation, I will send you a PDF of these slides as well, so that you don't have to try to scribble down these dimensions, because I'm going to start going faster through them here in a minute so we can get to the live presentation part too. When it comes to Facebook, you have your cover photo. The cover photo is the thing that goes across the back. It's behind your profile photo. It's 851 pixels wide by 315 pixels tall. Your profile photo is 180 by 180, but 200 by 200 works as long as it's square. If you have a little tab, it's 111 by 74. Your link images, which is the image when you post a link, is 1200 by 627. Your post images generally are 1200 by 1200. Facebook now kind of has gone towards that square image in your news feed, although 900 by 600 I find works very nicely as well. Most of my photo quotes that I put on are that 900 by 600 pixel resolution. It looks really nice on every monitor that I've tested it on. So those are your Facebook dimensions. For Twitter, you want to use images and videos, but you again need to keep it really simple. Basically the same kinds of things. Again, testimonials being very important. But remember, on Twitter, people are looking at their news feed on their phone. So you want to make sure, and Facebook a lot too. We want to make sure we keep those things simple. Twitter, now the profile page has a little background header. So it's 1500 by 500 pixels. Profile photo is 400 by 400. So you can kind of get the idea. They're all square. So you need to have something that is square for your profile image. A full-size shared photo is 1024 by 512, but one that's shown in stream is 220 by 440. So we want to make sure that our image will look good, and notice that those dimensions are really different. So you want to take a look at how your image is going to look with both of those crop ratios. For LinkedIn, images and videos are very important. Brand photos, product photos, business-to-business how-to, and business-to-business testimonials, all very important for businesses on LinkedIn. Remember, LinkedIn is about business. And my big tip for LinkedIn when it comes to imagery is go ahead and shell out the $30 or $40 or whatever it takes, $75, depends on what photographer you hire, and get a professional headshot for your profile picture. A lot of times you can get them in, just a photo studio in town, in the city. Find a photographer that has a studio. They're really not that expensive, and wow, do they make a difference. So get a professional headshot for your profile photo. Your standard logo here is 100 by 60, and I'm talking about logos. These are for your business page. Your profile image is totally different. But the logo for your company, your standard logo is 100 by 60, and then you have this awful square logo. And if you happen to be cursed with a logo, or blessed, in my case, I'm both, I guess, with a logo that's horizontal, LinkedIn is so hard to get along with. LinkedIn and Facebook are two of the reasons now when, as a graphic designer, that I design someone's logo, I always design two. I design a horizontal one and I design a square one. Because look at these dimensions. You have a horizontal one and you have a square one. So the square sometimes is really hard. You just have to play with it to get your logo to fit in there the way you want it to. Your banner image on LinkedIn is 646 by 220. Pinterest is where things start to get a little upside down when it comes to images. All of the networks that we've talked about to this point, and all the ones that we're going to talk about on to the future, are either using horizontal, narrow, or square photos. Pinterest likes vertical ones. The way that their layout works, you need to have a vertical photo in order to take up enough real estate in the news feed that your pictures get noticed. And Pinterest is all about images. Here you want to use brand photos, lifestyle photos, product photos, how-to photos. So remember that vertical layout is so important. So Pinterest really kind of turns things on its ear when it comes to what images you choose. Here are your profile photo. 600 by 600, again, square. The thumbnail for your board is 222 by 150, and then your pin is 600 pixels wide by infinite. You can have a really long image in Pinterest, and that's where those infographics come in. That's why everybody loves the infographics on Pinterest. And again, I'll pop into Pinterest and show you that. On YouTube, your profile photo is your Google Plus image, which we're going to have here in a second. Your channel art is 2560 by 1224. That's that little long header that goes behind your profile photo. And then if you want to do a custom video thumbnail, the size of it's 1280 by 720, which coincidentally is a common video size. Instagram is totally photo based. It has a little bit of a video in it too. This is a great place for you to share all the things we've talked about, plus behind the scenes. When it comes to Facebook and Pinterest and LinkedIn and all of those, we want to make our images share worthy, which is where we want people to go out there and share them. In Instagram, we want to make it comment worthy. We would love to have people comment and like our images, but we want to get a conversation going, and comment worthy is a great way to do it. Here, our profile photo, 161 by 161. See, square again. Image feed is 510 by 510. It's also square. And then your image view, if you're on a desktop, is 612 by 612. So it's not horribly different. Again, everything's square. Google Plus, same type of images we'd share on Facebook. Profile photo is 250 by 250. Again, it's square. Cover photo, 1220 by 1192. And then your feed image minimum is 250 by 250 pixels. So squarish again. I don't recommend that you do 250 by 250. That's the minimum. I would use the same resolution you're using on Facebook. So here's how you cheat a little. Image, if you're going to create, let's say you want to have one image and you want to share it over multiple networks. So you're going to create 3 versions of that image. You're going to create a square image that's 1200 by 1200, and you can use that on Facebook and LinkedIn. You're going to create a horizontal image that's 1200 by 627, and that you're going to use on Twitter. And then you're going to use a third image that is a little bit different in dimension, kind of flipped around a little, and then that's going to be for Pinterest and Google+. So there's 3 image sizes that you can do. And thank you, Constant Contact, for providing us with that information. I pulled this little cheat right off of one of their blogs. So speaking of Constant Contact, here's my little commercial. Sorry, we have to have a little 2-minute commercial in the middle of this. Actually, I'm not sorry. Constant Contact is awesome. And if you're not using it, you should be. This is one of those things that every business owner should have. Everybody should be using email marketing because it consistently gets you the most results. And it can really add to your bottom line. It is an amazing proposition. When you do it correctly, it just really can make a huge difference in your business. If you're interested, if you sign up for a trial, you get my marketing strategies plus my 3-part tutorial series for free. And then if you subscribe, you get that subscription plus 2 weeks to email marketing success and a branded template and a getting started recorded tutorial. So I have all kinds of great stuff if you'd like to get started with Constant Contact. If you'd like a free 30-minute consultation about what Constant Contact can do for you, all you need to do is drop over to my website, which is midnightproductionsinc.com, and sign up for a 30-minute consultation. Don't go to Constant Contact. Go to midnightproductionsinc.com or drop me an email or call this toll-free number, and I will help you get set up. You do have to go through me in order to get those perks because those are offered through my company, through Constant Contact, or by Constant Contact through Midnight Productions. So you do have to get in touch with me to get those specific perks. So let's pop out of this particular presentation and go over to the web and talk about some things. I'm going to load Pinterest while we're talking because I want to make sure I don't forget to talk about that. And I've got like 13 minutes here. If you guys have other questions, now's the time to go ahead and ask because I'm going to tell you I'm going to run probably right up to the hour. So make sure if you have a question, go ahead and don't hold on to it. Go ahead and ask. So we talked about stock images. So there's 3 stock image agencies that I use on a regular basis. Graphic Stock is one that I use quite often. Graphic Stock is where I grab all the little goofy images that I use in my for these classes. When we do the GoToWebinar panel thing, there's always a little image you can put in there. I get 99% of those from Graphic Stock. Graphic Stock has a very inexpensive system. I think it was like $30 for an entire year of Graphic Stock. the images are not the greatest things in the world. I mean, they're images that you will see quite a few places. They're not what I would consider the top end graphics, but for most of what you're doing as a business owner, you can find something applicable that you can use on graphic stock, and it's so much less expensive as a subscription than a lot of these other companies are. I'll click on this and we'll see. I think it was $30 for the year. You can do a 7-day free trial, and I really recommend that. Graphic Stock is an unlimited download, so you pay one amount of money, and then you can download images for whatever the time period is. So I think it's year. Okay. And okay, so they're a little pricier than I thought they were. $50 a month for unlimited downloads, $588 a year for unlimited downloads. So graphic stock, go do their little 7-day. Oh, here we are, special 99. I was going to say I didn't think I paid that much, but 83% off unlimited downloads. So anyway, they're definitely worth this 83% off part. So definitely check out graphic stock. And again, they're a great place for you to get some good basic images. There are no additional fees. It is updated pretty continually, and the images that you get from there are free. They're yours forever. Okay, so royalty free. Big Stock Images and iStock Photo are two other places that I like to use. Both of these organizations work off of the same system. Big Stock, I think, may have gone completely over to a subscription model. They do have a free image of the week, which is always handy. iStock works off of credits or off of a subscription model. So you just choose what's right for you. If you just need a few photos every once in a while, buy them with credits. If you need to have photos quite routinely, their subscriptions are usually far better. So if you download a lot of images or you need a lot of images, I would really recommend that you pick a subscription. I would also recommend that you pick one or the other. They tend to have similar images. They're not quite the same. iStock is by Getty Images, which means that it's going to have a little bit more selection than Big Stock Photo, although I'm going to tell you Big Stock Photo in the past has done exceedingly well for me. I have used both of these stock image sources routinely for since they've started to get they've come into incarnation. And I absolutely like both of them very well. So I recommend that you check out and see which one is right for you. Big Stock is offering a free week. I'm thinking that iStock, you can browse their entire library and then purchase according to credits. So when it comes to credits on one of these sites, you will spend more credits. You have to buy a package of credits all at one time, and then each image will cost X number of credits. It's sort of like washing your car with tokens. And the image size, the higher the resolution the image, the more credits it's going to cost, or the more tokens you're going to have to pay over for it. And that's where knowing what you're doing resolution-wise starts to make a lot of sense. If you're only going to use the image online, then purchasing it with just a few tokens or a few credits, and purchasing a smaller image is probably perfectly acceptable. When you want something that you're going to use both on the web and on print, then you're going to need to buy a higher resolution image. And once you buy it in one resolution, you can't go back and get it in another resolution by just paying the difference. You're going to have to buy a whole nother image. So make sure you know what purposes you're going to use that image for before you actually go in there and purchase it. And let's see, Jen has asked, will you be emailing a copy of the presentation after the webinar is complete? Yes, I will do that for you, Jen. So you'll be able to see all of this stuff. Okay, while that's finishing loading, which is iStock images, I was just going to show you the price differences there. We'll pop back in a moment. PicMonkey, which is PICMONKEY, and you'll have, if you've been on one of my webinars or one of my classes, you've heard about PicMonkey. And it's free. It's a free photo editor. How can you not love a free photo editor? The majority of stuff that PicMonkey offers that you need for your stuff, you can get it for free here. It's just amazing. And honestly, their paid subscription is not very much, and they have some really cool stuff that go with that as well. So I would really recommend you pay them because they're pretty awesome. You also get rid of this advertising down here when you pay them. You can do everything you want to do with this to set up for images for online. It's incredible. You can crop, you can resize, you can do effects, you can do touch-up stuff. You can add a frame, you can add an overlay. So remember back in the beginning, I talked about the PNG file where you can lay a logo over the top of it. Here's where you can put that. If you have a PNG file with a transparent background, you can drop it in over the top of a photo and combine the two of them. You can do little collages. You can put in different photos using the inlay, like I can inlay another photo on top of this photo if I want. The biggest, and you can add text, which is another thing everybody likes. With the basic edit parts, to me, the resizing is the most important. And I've got one more thing I want to talk to you about here, and that's when you resize it. You don't want to resize your image and change its dimensions non-proportionately. So you always should have this, see this keep proportions right here? Keep proportions. Always make sure that's checked, because if you uncheck it, it will let you change the width and the height of the image, and you'll stretch it in one way or another, and it just does not look good. So if I unchecked this and I changed this to 1200 pixels, you see what happens? Not good. I don't want to do that. I want to keep that as whatever the original image was. And if I do keep proportions, then if I wanted to do it 12, I wouldn't want to go up. Let's say 400 pixels wide. Or let's say I was preparing this for Instagram, I would do 510. Now that gives me 309 on that side. So I would do 510 there, apply it. And then I would come back here and do crop. And in my crop, I would want to do 510 by 510. There's my square. And then I just take my square and put it over and then click apply. And now this image has been cropped and could be used on Instagram, if that makes sense. So it's really easy, and PicMonkey lets you do this in a pretty simple way. So I really recommend that you check out PicMonkey if you don't have Photoshop. I have Photoshop. I love my Photoshop, so I'm sticking with that. Let's see if this is still loading. Another tool that I have found that I absolutely adore is Jing. And it, again, is free. Gosh, that is a great four-letter word, isn't it? Jing is amazing. It loads with your computer, and so it's this little sun. If you can see way up here in the far right-hand corner of my screen, I have this little plus sign. So do not use this for evil. Remember your copyright. Don't go stealing things from people's websites. But for like my website, if I wanted to use the picture of these two horses, or actually if I wanted to use this with the type with it and put it on something, I can just go to Jing, select the crop area. So I'm just going to draw around what I want it to do. And then I can just capture that image and save it right to my desktop. And boom, let's see, where's my image? There it is. I can open it in preview, and there that image will be eventually. There it is. So there's that capture, which is super awesome. So Jing is pretty cool. You can just Google Jing. It is made by TechSmith, or you can go to techsmith.com/jing.html. So I recommend you do that. It's PC and Mac. So I promised you Pinterest. Here's why vertical images are so important in Pinterest, because it's how it's laid out. Here is what a infographic looks like. Let's go back one. I liked this one better. So which platform is best for your paid social? So here's the infographic, and see, it's this really long image that has statistics and graphics in it. So that is what an infographic looks like. So here's another one. Constant Contact has great infographics, by the way. If you really want to know how to use infographics well, go follow Constant Contact on Pinterest, because they're amazing at it. I think that brings us to a conclusion. I know I've come up right up to the hour, and I know you guys have busy weeks ahead of you, and you're going to get out there and have some fun. My recommendation this week is that you go try out PicMonkey, and that you definitely download Jing and use it, and that you look for this presentation in your email here in the next day or two, and make sure you download the slides. It'll be a PDF of those slides, and so you can get the cheat sheet for the sizes for the various social media channels out there for the posts that you can make. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming to Make It Happen Monday. Next Monday, and we'll make sure we send you an invitation, because we haven't gotten all of those posted quite yet. Next Monday, we're going to be talking about how to create better marketing goals. And for many of us, our goals are too vague, and we're not reaching them because we don't have a solid target. It's a moving target. And it's a lot easier to aim at a big old red circle in the middle of a target than it is to try to aim at a faded out one that is bouncing all over the place. So we're going to talk about how to create really good marketing goals that you can reach. So thank you again for attending Make It Happen Monday. Have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Thanks. Bye.